Hey, what's up? My name's Aaliyah and welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be talking about some underrated books that I think more people need to read, and I'm going to be giving you a bunch of book recommendations. So let's just get on into it. So the first underrated book I wanted to recommend to you is Blood of an Exile by Brian Naslund. So this is a book that was originally indie published, I think, and then it got picked up by Tor a few years ago. So this is now a completed trilogy, but I've only read book one. But it was really, really good, and it's a high fantasy, and it's adult, and it's about dragons, and it's really, honestly, super badass. There's lots of fighting scenes, and there's a really good romance in here, and there's a lot of political intrigue, so if you're into that, you should check this out. But for all these books, I wanted to read you guys the synopsis on the back because I think that will really convince you that these books are actually really cool. So, this one says, Bershad stands apart from the world, the most legendary dragon slayer in history, both revered and reviled. Once he was Lord Salius Bershad, but after a disastrous failure on the battlefield, he was stripped of his titles and sentenced to one violent, perilous hunt after another. Now he lives only to stalk dragons, slaughter them, collect their precious oils, and head back into the treacherous wilds once more. For years, death was his only chance to escape, but that is about to change. The king who sentenced Bershad to his fate has just given him an unprecedented chance at redemption. Kill a foreign emperor and walk free forever. The journey will take him across dragon-infested mountains, through a seedy criminal underworld, and into a forbidden city guarded by deadly technology. But the links of fate bind us all. But yes, this book is so good. So if you like dragons and you like sexy men with dragon tattoos, and you like cool romance and you like criminal underworld vibes and political intrigue and badass battles and all that kind of stuff, you should pick this up because it's really good. Then another one I wanted to recommend to you is one you've heard me speak about before if you've been around on this channel, and it's called The House on Vesper Sands by Perriac O'Donnell. So this is a Victorian style mystery, and it's set in London, and we follow this detective and this other man, Gideon Bliss, as they try to uncover what's going on in the city. There's a bunch of women who are going missing, and this guy Gideon Bliss's uncle has also gone missing, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. There's people who are showing up dead, and there's all these missing women, and nobody can figure out what's going on. So this book is honestly so fun. The characters are really vibrant in this, and the setting is kind of like spooky and haunted, and there's a lot of suspicious things going on. It's kind of sus over here in London, but I wanted to read you the inside flap because it really sums it up well. So it says, London, 1893. High up in a house on a dark snowy night, a lone seamstress stands by a window. So begins the swirling serpentine world of Perriac O'Donnell's Victorian-inspired mystery, the story of a city cloaked in shadow but burning with questions. Why does the seamstress jump from the window? Why is a cryptic message stitched into her skin? And how is she connected to a rash of missing girls, all of whom seem to have disappeared under similar circumstances? On the case is Inspector Cutter, a detective as sharp and committed to his work as he is wryly hilarious. Gideon Bliss, a Cambridge dropout in love with one of the missing girls, stumbles into a role as Cutter's sidekick. And clever young journalist Octavia Halingdon sees the case as a chance to tell a story that matters, despite her employer's preference that she stick to a woman's society column. As Inspector Cutter peels back the mystery layer by layer, he leads them all, at last, to the secrets that lie hidden at the house on Vesper Sands. That's all you need to know. This is a great mystery. It also has some queer characters. It has a kick-ass young lady named Octavia. It has Gideon Bliss, who's an absolute cinnamon roll. It has Inspector Cutter, who is a badass. And it's great. Great cast of characters, great mystery. Honestly, a fun and fresh time. And then another one that I'm sure you've heard of, but you may not have read, and that is Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Power. So Rory Power also wrote Wilder Girls, which was really popular, but I feel like not a ton of people talk about this, which is her second book, and I honestly loved this so much. It is about this girl, and she lives with her mom, And her mom is really like secretive about her history, and she never talks about who her dad is, and the girl doesn't know anything about her grandparents or where her mom came from or anything like that. She's really isolated from any like extended family, and so she kind of takes it upon herself to find out about her family and try and go track down her grandma. And things kind of hit the fan. So this is a YA horror, and it has a lot of like nature horror elements in it. It's also got like a farm, and the farm is like kind of creepy. So if you're into that, you should check this out. But I will read you the flap. So it says, ever since Margot was born, it's been just her and her mother. No answers to any of Margot's questions about what came before. No history to hold on to, no relatives to speak of. Just the two of them stuck in their rundown apartment, struggling to get along. But that's not enough for Margot. She wants family, she wants a past, and she just found the key she needs to get it. A photograph pointing her to a town called Faline, pointing her home. Only when Margot gets there, it's not what she bargained for. Margot's mother left for a reason, but was it to hide her past, or was it to protect Margot from what's still there? The only thing Margot knows for sure is that there's poison in their family tree, and their roots are dug so deep into Faline that now that she's there, she might never escape. This girl's family is real whack, and this book is really good. This book was one that I binge read because I was just like so into it. And also, this cover, stunning, with the corn and the flames. Oh dude, you gotta check this book out, it's so good. And then I have a few others that I wanted to recommend to you too. Some of these I read this last year, and some of them I read like a few years ago, but either way, they're books that nobody really talks about. So the first one I want to tell you about is Dreamfall by Amy Plum. So this is another YA horror, and this originally intrigued me because it's about kids who have insomnia, and at the time I was having like pretty bad insomnia, so I was pretty intrigued by that. But it's about these kids who are having like chronic insomnia, and so their parents kind of enroll them in this weird like test, where there's like this medical facility where they're running tests on people with insomnia, and they're trying to like get them to like sleep deeper and like stay asleep. And so these kids are all teenagers, and they're all like in this weird experiment. So they're all like taken to this lab and like hooked up to machines and stuff, and they're all like kind of asleep, but they're hooked up to like monitors and stuff. And so during this whole experiment, these kids kind of get put into like this dream world together, but the dream world soon starts like feeding on their deepest fears, and things kind of go from there. And so it's crazy. It's like there's nightmare stuff going on, and there's like monsters, and they're in these weird like dream world situations, but what happens in the dreams like affects them in real life sometimes. And then so you get the point of view of the kids, and then you in the dreams, and then you also get the point of view of some of the like researchers who are like watching the monitors and stuff, and they can tell that something's off and that something's going wrong, and they're trying to figure out how to stop it. And it's just really intense and fast-paced and action-packed, and the teenage characters are really intriguing as well, and they all kind of have like their own backstories and stuff, and their own like personal trauma that kind of comes out as well. So that's one that's really good. It's also a duology, so I've only read book 1 because at the time book 2 wasn't out yet, but I now have book 2, so I might go back and read the first one and then continue on with the duology, because I was really loving it. And Dreamfall also ends on like kind of a cliffhanger too. So anyways, if that sounds interesting to you, I would definitely recommend that. And then another one I want to tell you about is The Queer Principles of Kit Webb. So this is a adult like kind of a historical romance, and we follow this guy named Kit Webb, and he is an ex-highwayman, and he owns a coffee shop, and he's trying to just kind of like stay on the straight and narrow. And one day this nobleman comes into his coffee shop, and the nobleman wants to hire him to kill someone, and things kind of go from there. And this has a really good male-male romance in it, and it was spicy and steamy, but also like really sweet and heartwarming. So if you're looking for a really good romance that's queer and really fun, I would recommend this. It has really good characters in it. The plot is like not super deep though, so if that's something that's important to you, maybe like don't go for this one, but it's definitely very, very fun and fast-paced. So if you're into that, I would recommend this. And then another one I want to tell you about is the Seven Realms series by Cinda Williams-Shima. So I have not heard very many people talk about this on booktube. It seems like the people who love it really love it, and everybody else just has no idea what it is. But the first book is called The Demon King, and this is the first book in a YA fantasy series that came out like quite a while ago. I think it came out when I was in like middle school, so I don't know. I don't know what year that was. 2012, 13 maybe. But anyways, this series is really good. So we follow this guy, and his name is Han Alistair, and he is living with his family, and they're poor, and he kind of has some like magic in his past. And then we also follow this girl who is a princess, and her family is running the kingdom, and one thing leads to another, and their paths end up crossing, and it's basically about them, and their magical ancestry, and they kind of have to come together to help save this kingdom. And then there's also some, like a little bit of a murder mystery aspect to it as well, but it's high fantasy, people have magic powers and stuff, and in this world people have like these amulets that they wear, and the amulets help like store magic, which is really cool. So anyways, it's very interesting and fast-paced and fun, and I really like the romance in here. It's really cool. Yes, so would recommend this, and honestly this whole series is like one of my favorite fantasy series of all time, so if you've never heard of it, you should definitely check it out because it's really good. And then another one I want to tell you about is Clairvoyant by Rochelle Delaney. So this is a middle grade, and it's kind of like it's a contemporary middle grade, but it has like some fantasy elements too. And so we follow this girl named Clara, and she and her mom moved to this new town, and Clara's mom is very into like all kinds of occult stuff, so she's into like crystals and zodiac stuff and all of that kind of thing, and Clara is like, no, like I don't believe in that, and I don't want anything to do with that. Like she just thinks her mom is like kind of eccentric or whatever. And it's funny because her mom decorates their apartment and has like a cauldron and all this stuff, and she's like, oh my god, mom, you're so embarrassing. And so anyways, Clara is in middle school, and she has to go to a new school, and so she gets there and she ends up joining the journalism club because she's really into journalism. And she kind of gets assigned to write the horoscopes for this newspaper at the school, and she's like really mad about it because she's not into the horoscopes and stuff. But one day she writes a horoscope and it comes true. And things kind of like go from there. So a lot of the kids at school are like, oh, Clara is like writing these horoscopes, and you know, maybe she'll write one for me so that, you know, something will go right for me, you know, something that I want will happen to me or whatever. And so Clara is trying to like navigate that, and she's trying to navigate, you know, living with her mom in this new place and meeting friends at this new school because she feels like she doesn't really fit in. And yeah, it's just really cute. It's really heartwarming. Clara is like a super snarky, fun main character, so I would recommend this if you're into middle grade because it was really, really fun. And I haven't heard anybody else really talk about this one. I have one more recommendation for you, and that is The Only Black Girls in Town by Brandy Colbert. You guys know I talk about this book all the time, but nobody else has read it but me, I swear, so other people need to read it. But this is another middle grade, and we follow this girl named Alberta, and she is like the only young black girl living in this town. And so it's about her, and she is kind of like facing some microaggressions at school, and then also she has two dads, so there's some people who are kind of like, I don't know, weird to her because she has like parents who are queer, and then it's also about her and her friends. So one day this young black girl moves to town, and she and her mom move in across the street from Alberta, so she ends up like befriending Alberta, and they have like this whole friendship going on. So it's kind of about Alberta making friends and meeting some other black women, and it's really, really fun. And there's also a mystery element to this as well, and there's some like letters in the book that the girls discover in one of their houses in the attic, and so they're kind of trying to unravel this mystery. So it's about racism, it's about microaggressions, but it's also about friendship and family, and people coming together and just really supporting each other. So it's actually a really sweet book, and I think it's really important, and you should read it if you haven't read it yet, because it's very fun. And it's also set in this like beachside town, which is really cool because there's like surfing and all these little like cute ice cream shops like on the boardwalk and stuff, so it's just really fun. So would highly recommend. So those are all of the underrated reads I have to recommend to you today. If you have any underrated books that you want to recommend to me, please leave them down below in the comments because I would love to know. And if you have not subscribed, I would love it if you could consider doing so. I post videos every week, and there are some more videos in the works at the moment. So if you want to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you are interested in following me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, all that, I have all those things linked down below in the description if that interests you. And that is all I have for you today. I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!